the INEC returning officer and vice chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Professor Eduwola Yinka's announcement of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu as the winner of the Ondo state governorship election brought a rousing conclusion to all the partisan activities which had gone on overdrive within the space of 24 hours. As the participating political parties jostled to outdo one another, exactly how fair did the individual parties play at the polls? What is the assessment of the election? According to those who were on ground to monitor it, was the Ondo governorship election another punch for democracy or just another one in the neighboring Edo state a few weeks ago still being applauded? The Independent National Electoral Commission equipped itself in its organization of the election. For answers to those questions, we're now being joined by Austin AIGBE, Senior Programs Officer, Center for Democracy and Development, who was on ground to monitor the election. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the program once again. I want to talk to you about vote buying. I mean, we hear publicity official of one of the political parties saying, they did say, oh, collect money if they give you, but vote your conscience. After Tundu, stated the electoral laws, and there was a video that went viral as regards vote buying by both political parties. There was a man that had like 200,000 in his pocket to be able to pay and induce voters. I mean, do you have a comprehensive report on vote buying across board?
Thanks for having me. Yes, we did deploy over 250 observers across the 18 local government area of the state in all of the ward collation points in the state of Ondo. Report from observers across the state suggests that there was a massive vote trading. Vote trading because we cannot just accuse the political party, as it were. We also need to also begin to talk to the citizens who also demanded, asking for their own vote. In particularly an instance in Alagbaka Primary School, it was amazing, but I won't say an old man, a bit of a matured man, who was arguing that he needs to collect his own, that even if they had to arrest him, it's his right to collect his own money to vote, that he just cannot vote only and then go back home, that since people are paying, he wants to sell his own vote. And like you said, there's also videos that have gone viral, even though at the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, we are fact-checking those videos to be very sure that they are authentic, because we also realized in the state of Edo, there were massive fake news, disinformation that trended, suggesting that there was vote buying, whereas it was not really happening in those locations, or there was violence and it wasn't exactly happening in those areas. So we have seen videos of people who claim that, yes, they voted and they've been paid, and they were happy about it. The culture of the people that is apparently affecting the way votes are being bought. When people resist to collect money, it is not about going, collect money, vote your conscience. It is not that collect money, vote your conscience. It is that the people who are buying the vote tend to see the ballot before they pay. It is see and buy, not buy and sell. So if it was buy and sell, people could actually vote their conscience. But in the state of Edo, and of course that also happened in Ondo, when people vote, you will see the network. It was a network of, or what we would call a cartel. The party agents are looking at the voter at the cubicle, voting, and the voter tend to strategically show the ballot that he or she had voted, and there's an eye connection between the voter and the party agent, and there's a referral by the party agent to another standby individual who is watching, male and female, with a small bag on their shoulder with some money or some tickets. And these individuals goes to those people, and then they are given something that looks like a tag. Then they direct them to another location from where they end up getting the money. So it is not just that people should go and vote and then take the money, go and vote your conscience. That isn't what happened, and that's that's exactly what we are curious about. So for us to be able to deal with vote buying, whether you're going to vote and cook soup or vote and whatever it is, it's almost becoming a culture of the people that, come on, in the next 4 years, we don't care because we don't really know what you're going to do. It's some kind of distrust in a way on the system, that even though we recognize you are governor, you recognize you are president, you recognize you are state lawmakers or national lawmakers, just give us our own materially, and then you can go spend all of our fortune in the next 4 years. It's a worrying dimension.
Well, good points you've raised there about trust deficit and the cynicism of the electorate, which is in itself a comment on the people's perception of the quality of leadership that they get from those they vote into office, one way or the other. But quickly, I would like to ask you about your assessment of the performance of the Electoral Commission and also the security agencies in this Ondo State gubernatorial election.
Sincerely, even though I'm not one of the apostles of trying to do praise singing, because the institutions are supposed to perform their responsibility that they are assigned to do, it is INEC responsibility to discharge free, fair, credible election. And I think it's their duty. But again, looking at previous elections and the manner in which politicians tend to override some of those precautionary measures put in place to enhance transparency, INEC, in all fairness, coming from Edo, there has been an improved processes in Ondo election. I'll give you a very quick example. In our Thursday preliminary report, the pre-election report we did in the state of Ondo, we had said that INEC must pay attention to non-state actors that are very important in the process. For example, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, who INEC rely on for logistic transmission or transportation. So we had flagged off that non-state actors and their roles. We recognize, too, that these agencies are very partisan. They are aligned with political actors. In fact, they themselves are political actors, not just aligning with political actors. We draw INEC's attention to the very role they play to sabotage the process. And with all due respect, and I want to say categorically, what we saw was that there was, even though in pockets of locations that voting did start late, where buses were not available, there were other means. INEC just immediately, maybe they had a plan B, they didn't quite tell other, they didn't quite release, maybe they have B, A, B, C, or D. So we saw presiding officers on motorbikes, moving without necessarily waiting for whoever is coming. So, which means there were actors who will want to create some level of delay in the logistic transportation. But there were other processes that happened. Our observers in some location did say, even though we were trying to look at that, are you sure that INEC officials were at the polling at 6:30 a.m.? 6:30 a.m. There were officials who were already at the polling unit. That was remarkable. Usually you see them coming out like 7:30, 8 o'clock before polling will then gradually start. But we saw, even in Ondo, where they had the accident of the boat capsizing, or that capsized, voting started in earnest, quick time. In that local government, usually results come in like after every other local government that come in. You're now waiting for just one local government to conclude the poll. But remarkably, the logistics went on very smoothly. However, there were targeted assaults on INEC officials in some local government, Akure South and a couple of other local governments, particularly the technicians who are responsible for fixing smart card readers or the Z-pad and so. There were targeted attack on them. So when they saw them, the people, maybe they know that we are going to be snapping this from EC 8A at the polling unit. In order to stop that from happening, these are the people we need to stop. So in an attempt for INEC to improve on processes, there seem to be some other actors, particularly political actors, who will want to stop those innovations. For example, the use of Z-file or the Z-pad, popularly referred to, has improved very tremendously the process of electioneering. People now know that what collation, at the collation point, it's no longer important that you have to go disrupt processes there. At the local government collation, why do you need to go waste your energy on that? Right now, people now know you have to concentrate on the polling unit. So when results are concluded at the polling level, the result sheet is from EC60E is taken a shot of, it snapped, and in real time uploaded to a portal, which is online, which anyone that have access to that portal across the globe can easily read all of the polling unit results. All of the polling results, 3,009 of them. As of last evening, when we checked at the center, there were close to 3,000 results already uploaded, which means if you have to manipulate that result at the world level, people are going to begin to look at infractions. Now we can now begin to say, INEC, you have improved where by these processes. Because as civil society organizations, we have always called INEC to task that we need to be able to see results from the polling unit point. Because election took place at the polling unit, not at the state collation office. Released polling unit by polling unit. And with this innovation, I tell you, processes are getting improved by the day. Coming from Edo, improve on Ondo, going forward to another election, there'll be more improvement. I can think of that already.
Well, this is very encouraging. That's good to hear. I wanted to ask you two questions. You've talked about the fact that we didn't have the usual refrain of late arrival of election materials, but this particular election was unique because it's in the middle of a pandemic. How would you rate adherence to COVID-19 guidelines? That's my first question. Second question is to go back to that point about vote buying, because you'll recall the post-mortem of the Edo elections was the end to godfatherism. That's what emerged as a theme. With the Ondo elections, what has emerged as a theme is vote buying. You made a point earlier about the desperation of the public and thinking a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Let me just get the money. Should the messaging stop being, let's refrain from vote buying? Should we not turn it towards the political parties and really stress stop vote selling? Is the messaging wrong? Is the emphasis wrong here? Since the people are so desperate that they really will sort of jettison any sort of dignity at this point, and they're also cynical, should that messaging be directed to the political parties instead of the public?
Okay, so I'll begin with the last question, and just to quickly make a bit of an addition to the question, to the comment you made about the vote, a bed in hand. A bed in hand, it doesn't work too anymore. A bed in hand is the only bed. People now know that this bed is the one we can see in the next 4 years. So it's hilarious. But to quickly state it, so the question is, we must frame our messaging around all of the critical actors. If you focus on political parties alone, we are not going to achieve the desired result. And if you focus and if you put a blame on the voters, we're actually doing disservice to them, because we know that governance system in our Nigerian architecture is becoming a questionable. We need to question the governance of this nation, our dear country, Nigeria. When people make promises that are not adhered to for 4 years, and they come promising you for another 4 years, and they know that you're not going to vote for them, so they know, so people will say, well, if I'm not going to vote for you, you have the option of then all the 4 years that you have amassed those things, give us our own for the next 4 years. So it's like a collective bargaining, if you like to agree. But to put it, we must do a messaging. We've tried to do messaging by calculating what 5,000 means for 4 years and what 2,000 means for 4 years. People will say, let me end it now, like this about vote and cook soup. So let me cook soup now, materially, this very just now, that later I could then survive. So, but I tend to, because in the course of our work, you meet people of all manner. There was a time I had an event where some people came for that program, and we had refunded like transport reimbursement of 2,000 naira to this participant. And when 2,000 naira got to this particular participant, she fell down on her knees and was, literally crying. She hadn't seen 2,000 naira for a while. I was moved by the emotion. So I added 2,000 naira to it, thinking that I was going to do a good thing. Then I saw her, she was rolling on the floor, crying. And I was further moved, and I had to say, if I add more, it's going to create anarchy. So people, the weaponization of poverty is becoming a cause of concern. The political actors know that if you weaponize poverty, keep them in the dark, put them in the dungeon of irrelevance, at a point they are going to seek refuge from you. When they come to you, you give them peanuts and they go home crying. Like the word, give a dog a bone, let him go home, and he will find his way home. So you see these actors, the voters, are like, let me use what are subservient to the political actors. And the actors know, they know that these voters will come for it. So what do we need to do? We need to improve knowledge base of voters. 2, we need to put the cubicle, that's a voting point, in a manner. INEC has tried to do that, but it's still not happening, particularly with the rains of yesterday. Don't also forget, there was rain before election in Edo. So because of the rains of yesterday in the morning, the polling environment got a bit scattered. The cubicle that was a bit kept in a manner that will avoid vote buying became a bit exposed to those actors. So we need to create, maybe we may want to go the route of countries like Mali, where polling actually takes place inside a classroom, and voters and agents and all of that a bit stay away. So you need to enter the classroom or a secured location, not just a cubicle as it were. When you vote, somebody is monitoring, an ENEC official, maybe the APO3, standing at the door of the primary school, ensuring that your ballot paper is folded and adequately protected before you pull out to go vote openly, because of the system that we operate, the open secret ballot system. So you need to come out openly and drop the ballot. But inside while you are voting, it is supposed to be secret. Nobody should show his or her ballot paper to any individuals, including the police officials. But in Ondo, as in every other election, security agencies are there. They see the network. They see the cartel movement. But you can't arrest somebody because he's giving tax, or you arrest somebody because he's giving eye contact or body language. You need sufficient evidence to be able to arrest like those individuals that were arrested with money. But in the polling level, most of these agents don't go with money. But for us as observers, what we then do is to see the network and attempt to follow up the network. And that's how we're able to catch it. If we're able to protect the cubicle, and reduce the manner in which people show their ballot, we will begin to reduce vote buying.
Amen to that.
Well, thank you very much, Austin.
And to the question about, COVID-19 compliance. Before the election, we have run trainings in the senatorial district, in Okitipopa, in Ikere, and in Akure. What we saw across the state of Ondo, people already feel that COVID-19 was dead. So for us who were wearing face masks, we're seen as visitors. And that well, come on, what are you doing with face masks? We went to Market Square. We went to market in Akure, took pictures of people in a crowded location. And the market stores, at the supermarket, every location you go, there is no adherence to COVID-19 protocol. We knew that was going to be a problem in itself at the polling unit. The same thing we observe in Edo. So we are pushed, again, increasing awareness, sensitization, knowledge building. But at the end of the day, the people's culture will always be the people's culture. So when people begin to have doubt in certain processes, for example, when we say that COVID-19 is real, and they saw all of those political campaigns that happened in the state of Ondo, all of the actors, the crowding location, including those people who ought to be the one to show as leadership by example, we are in a crowded location. You send a wrong signal to voter. That are you using COVID-19 to stop us from voting? That became a challenge for us, and I think that was also a challenge for INEC, because literally only very minimal location. They tried to maintain distancing. We did not see anything that looked like two-tier queue, because there was a two-tier queue recommendation by INEC policy. There was supposed to be INEC official wearing the PPE, the personal protective equipment. We didn't see any of those. There was supposed to be the thermometer for the temperature of individuals going to vote. Yes, we saw some of them. We saw location sincerely with the thermometer device to test people's temperature. We saw, of course, hand sanitizers in those locations. But distancing, the physical distancing, which is one of the very important, plus the use of face masks, we're literally missing in majority of locations.
Well, thank you very much, Austin AIGBE, for this assessment of the conduct of the 2020 gubernatorial elections in Ondo State on October 10. Thank you for joining us.